every time you bring us a can full of garbage, one of these bright college graduates who Mayor Newsom hired will give you $10. Otherwise, we're not going to give you any more welfare so you could snort it up your nose. How about paying them per can of garbage? Would that make sense to you? No, it doesn't make sense? You mean you owe them the money? You owe them the money, huh? Tyler, Texas. Tommy, you've been here. What did you see when you were in San Francisco?
Dr. Savage, I've got one bad thing and two good things about San Francisco. I visited my first and only time about 3.5 years ago. Bad thing is walking out of a restaurant with a doggy bag, take about 5 steps, and there's a 19-year-old kid begging me for my food. I told him to get a job, and I thought that he was going to fight me. And I was actually scared for a little bit.
Well, you should be, because I learned a long time ago that if you ever got into an altercation with one of the street vermin, even if they spit at you, you would be arrested for assault. They're looking for that. Don't go near them. Don't react. Let me tell you something about street smarts with vermin across America. If they look at you, look away. If they insult your wife, go the other way. Do not engage them. They are the equivalent of the person who is looking for you to tail end your car, because there are legions of unemployed lawyers in the city looking to make a living strictly by having a tourist stand up for their dignity. And that's one of the reasons tourists are staying away, is because the bums are very hostile. The bums are out of control. The bums are dangerous. The bums are using the city like a toilet bowl, in my opinion. But there are many other reasons people are staying away, and I'd like to hear from you. If you have a tourist horror story so that we can inform the mayor and the supervisors what they might do to bring you back. Chicago, John, you're on the Savage Nation.
Mike, you stole my thunder. Great to be on your show. But you're absolutely right. I was born and raised in Chicago, joined the Navy, got stationed on Treasure Island back in 1987. And you know, ever since, that's just gone downhill. From Silicon Valley to them kicking them all out. Look at Hunters Point. They went through all that rejuvenation up there, and what happened? Squat, because they told them all to get out. And then during the Base Realignment Act, they took everybody out of there. And then
the reason they made the military clean up the old naval base at Hunters Point was so that Nancy Pelosi and her friends could swoop in like vultures and build their own properties on it after the government invested billions of dollars in cleaning it up. Don't you see a scam when you confront it? What do you think this was all about? What do you think they're going to do? Put the military back when they can make billions of dollars, her and Feinstein? Thanks for the call. That's one man's opinion. One man's opinion. Take a look at the Presidio, one of the great military bases in America. Take a look at what Feinstein and Boxer have done to it through nepotism. Take a look at the fact that George Lucas was given a valuable piece of land to build a film studio for nothing down. Ask yourself how these things happen. San Francisco, Lewis, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yeah, hi. You know, ever since September 11th, 2001, there has not been equestrian horse-boarding or equestrian activities in Golden Gate Park. The first time in 165 years that we've not had our used to horseback activities in the city, and it's all due to these liberal thugs that have invaded our city positions. It's just absolutely nuts. They've done nothing to save Golden Gate Park as a historical horseback riding park. They've done nothing.
Well, the Golden Gate Park is safe for the junkies. That's the important thing, and for other individuals who use the bushes for various and sundry. It's very important that you understand what the city prides itself on. Certainly it isn't horseback riding. It is making certain that the bushes are useful for people who stick themselves in the arm, the intravenous drug users, not junkies. You're not allowed to say the word junkie in San Francisco. They're called intravenous drug users. You understand that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the kids go into playgrounds and there are needles sticking out of the ground. There were cases of them sliding down sliding ponds and kids getting stuck with hypodermic needles. Utah, Robert, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Savage. I lived in San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, and I love the city. But now, with Newsom Company running the city, I'm worried about it. After a father and 2 sons were brutally murdered there, my daughter wants to go to Berkeley University next year, and I'm not happy about it. I'm nervous about it.
There's a very high crime rate at the University of California at Berkeley and Berkeley itself. It has also been taken over by radical liberals who care nothing about the traditions of the university, care only about stuffing their pockets and their cronies. I would send us somewhere else. And remember, I am a graduate of the University of California at Berkeley with a doctorate. a real PhD, not an honorary one, in a real scientific field. And so it's not easy for me to say this. I would be very concerned about sending my daughter to the University of California at Berkeley. I truly would. But there are other things we can talk about with regard to San Francisco. Any tourist horror stories, 1-800-449, or any reasons you have come here or continue to come here. I'm open for business on the Savage Nation. Sacramento John, go ahead, please.
The only thing I would take my family there for, Michael, would be to the ball game, which I would get on a ferry at Jack London Square and over to there, so I wouldn't have to interact with any of the vermin and run around that city. Or
the stadium is gorgeous. I was down there last year. I'm not a big ball fan, but I went and I really did enjoy it. It's something to behold. It's gorgeous on the bay.
Ferry. It's beautiful right over. You don't have to, like I say, go inside the city. It drops you off right there at the park and the zoo. That'd be it.
That's right. I love the zoo as well. I still do. Fortunately, there are fences to keep out the mayor and the supervisors, so the zoo is a very safe place because there are only wild animals inside, as opposed to politicians. And therefore, you're safe from the bums who are, of course, released on the city by the politicians to frighten the middle class. That's how I see it. You don't like it? Too bad. Jay in San Francisco, KNEW, go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Savage. Yeah, I grew up in San Francisco, Dr. Savage, and I'll say I think that there are tons of things to do in this city. I mean, you have Golden Gate Park, the D. Young Museum. They just opened up the Exploratorium. Your last caller mentioned the ballpark here. There's a wharf area. There's some beautiful neighborhoods, Pacific Height. There's some great institutions here, USF, St. Ignatius Church. I mean,
you're mentioning some very, very interesting places. But what does USF have to do with tourists?
Well, what I'm saying, Dr. Savage, is if you come to the city, there are tons of tourist attractions here. Granted, some of the areas in the Market Street and downtown area, you have some issues there. But what urban environment don't you have that, Dr. Savage?
Well, that's why I opened up both sides, and I'm glad you were able to call and give us the positive, but still not a big magnet for children, is it, Jay?
Well, I disagree because, once again, I mentioned Golden. You have a bunch of activities that the locals know about. There are many locals.
All right, let me ask you, do you happen to have children yourself?
No, I'm about to be married, and I will be having children in the next year.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but, Jay, it's a very difficult city to bring a child to. Virtually wherever you go, children are sneered at by the locals. They don't like children because it's not a children-friendly city. It's an anti-children city. That's one of the main reasons tourists are staying away in droves. They don't like going in restaurants and being sneered at. They don't like going everywhere and children being put at the back of the bus, so to speak.
Well, I haven't experienced that. I haven't seen that in the city. I haven't seen parents who are
don't get me wrong, Jay. I could have left here a long time ago, but I haven't, have I? I love the city. I'm one of the 30% who are here and despise the politicians and love the city. I'm one of the 30% who would like to see some representation. Unfortunately, I don't even have a representative in this city. I don't have a congressperson. I certainly don't have a senator. I don't have a supervisor anywhere in the Bay Area that represents family values. Do you know of one?
Well, then perhaps that leaves the door open for you, Dr. Savage. If you truly represent family values and you fear there are others in the Bay Area who agree with you.
No. I have no desire to run for office, let alone on a local level. If I ever did run for office, it would be on a national level. I could knock one of the senators out of her seat. As sure as I'm sitting here. If I wanted to be a senator, I could easily beat Feinstein or Boxer. You want to put that down? You can mark it down in bronze. But I don't want to run for politics. The last thing I would ever want to do is run for a local seat. Boxer and Feinstein are both vulnerable because they're corrupt, they're old, and they're old news. And they don't represent families, nor do they represent businesses.
Savage. The fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. I'm Glenn Beck, weekdays, noon to 3 on Talk 910 KNEW.
San Francisco, open your golden gate. You let no stranger wait outside your door.
It's a charming small town, don't get me wrong. I mean, one of the reasons I moved here was because of its small town atmosphere. But I had no idea that the small-mindedness of the small town would permeate the illusory city by the bay. This is the Savage Nation, and we are talking about things positive and things negative of San Francisco. I mean, I continue to live here for obvious reasons. I'm amongst the 30% who would like to see a pro-business individual run for the mayor's office. I would like to see the supervisors thrown out. Here you have a city where supervisors pass laws to protect and shield illegal immigrant drug dealers who are underage. Here you have city supervisors who pass laws every day attacking tourists in the tourist base, putting one tax after another on a hotel room. Here you have supervisors who spend their every day figuring out how they can destroy businesses because they've never run one. And they wonder all of a sudden where the taxes are going. There are many historical examples of what is going on in the city. This is not the first place this has happened. In fact, I think it was Ibsen, I could be mistaken, who wrote about such a situation in the 19th century in one of the famous European tourist cities. I wish I could recall it, but right now I cannot. Next hour, we'll talk about national news, the unemployment, the deficit, government motors, government health, climate change. They gave up on global warming because they know it was hogwash. Now it's climate change. They're God themselves.